Today we are going to have the Paticca lesson 2. Those who are born in Buddhist countries, and they might have heard this Paticca steps and formula many times, and then they even may remember them. They can recite by heart, right?
Yes.
You can recite?
I think so.
Okay, you can recite.
Yes. Walter can, definitely.
I think so.
Yeah, Walter can. Anu?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have memorized this formula? Not only the formula, the examples. And it is very, very easy to remember because there are a lot of repetitions. I encourage you all to memorize this, and then you will see how applicable to your daily life, provided you understand the formula. First I tell you the formula, and then give you the examples. Perhaps by the end of this class, you might be able to remember the examples. First, it has 3 parts. First is the origination, dependent origination, in forward order, and then reverse order, and then combination of both forward and reverse order. Okay, so the meaning of the word Paticca Samuppada. Paticca means depending or because of. Samuppada means arising. So it has been translated into English as dependent origination. Sometimes we call it causal relationship, and so forth. This is very, very important teaching, and Buddha said in several places, one who teaches Dhamma, one who knows this Paticca Samuppada is qualified to teach Dhamma. One who knows this dependent origination is said to be one who knows Dhamma. One who lives in accordance with the Dhamma, Dhammanudhamma Patipada. So, one who lives according to Dhamma only if he knows Paticca Samuppada. One who is qualified to teach is the one who knows Paticca Samuppada. One who knows the Dhamma is the one who knows the Paticca Samuppada. Because it is so important. For instance, very simple, ordinary example. I would ask you, is it going to rain today? What would be your answer? Depends. Is it going to snow today?
Most likely.
The probability is very low.
Not probably today, but in winter, if I ask you,
Maybe.
depending on. and so forth and so on. Almost everything in life, when we don't want to give a specific answer, we say dependent, depending, and so forth. Anyway, the formula is, you can see in the first, under the title, Dependent Origination, the second line is, this being, this is. From arising of this, this arises. This is the formula. When you learn mathematics, arithmetic, algebra, anything related to them, you learn the formula. And then memorize the formula and apply the formula to other things. So this is the formula to remember. This being, this is. We come across the Pali sentence. Pali sentence is imasmin sati idang hoti. Imasmin sati idang hoti. So you see anuloma in Pali section. Imasa uppada idang uppajyati. Okay? Imas means sati. Sati here means is or being. In other places sati means mindfulness. But here sati is verb. Idang hoti, this is. Imasa of this, uppada arising, imang uppajjati, this arise. Okay, this is the formula. Then Buddha gives the example. Dependent on ignorance, volitional formations arise. Dependent on volitional formations, consciousness arises. Depending on consciousness, mentality and materiality arises. Depending on mentality and materiality, the sixfold base arises. Depending on sixfold base, contact arises. Depending on contact, feeling arises. Depending on feeling, craving arises. Depending on craving, clinging arises. Depending on clinging, becoming arises. Dependent on becoming, birth arises. Dependent on birth, aging, death arise. And sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. Thus there is the arising of this whole mass of suffering. Whole mass of suffering. And therefore, in some places, Buddha said the whole 5 aggregates is called aggregates of suffering. Dukkha khanda. Khanda means aggregate. This whole aggregates of suffering arises. This is our entire life. Entire life. Now, according to the tradition, when the Buddha attained enlightenment, he sat under the same Bodhi tree for 1 whole week in the same posture, cross-legged posture. And then he began to see in the first watch of the night, he saw he was born and reborn again and again and again and again in samsara. Then he thought in the second watch, he saw all other beings also are taking rebirth again and again and again and again. Then he began to think, what is the cause? Why is this happening? Then he sat in the same posture for 7 days and then began to think, what is the cause of this? And he came up with this formula. And we will discuss all these things in detail. This is just the beginning. Then, this is called the forward order. Now we go to the stanza. As phenomena grow clear, to the Brahmin ardent, absorbed, his doubts all vanish when he discerns what has a cause. In the first watch he saw this. Watch means night divided into 3 watches. Maybe in today's term we may say from 6 to 10, 10 to 2, 2 to 6, like that roughly. It may change according to the what you call summer cycle, winter cycle and so forth. But from the sunset to sunrise, these 12 hours divided into 3 groups, each having 4 hours. Say, assuming from 6 to 10, he began to think, this is after attainment of enlightenment, sitting under the same tree. He began to think the formula. Because of ignorance, because volitional formations arises, because of volitional formation, consciousness and so forth. We will discuss all this later. He went in this order from 4 hours, sitting in the same posture, very deeply, with minutest details, he thought about this. 4 hours. Only to see the forward order. Then, as the phenomena grow clear, what is the phenomena?
Dependent origination.
Phenomena is dependent origination. This Dhamma. Dhamma involved in dependent origination is the phenomena. To the Brahmin ardent and absorbed. Here Brahmin means enlightened one. In the Dhammapada there is one whole chapter called Brahmana Vagga. There the word Brahman or Brahman means enlightened one, Arahant and the Buddha. It is not used in the same sense as in Indian Hindu tradition. Fully enlightened one is called Brahmin. His doubt all vanished. Doubt about why people, why all living beings are taking rebirth again and again and again and again. He has a very healthy doubt. We also have doubt, it has no any solution. But his doubt was inquisitive doubt. He, with the intention of finding a solution, he began to doubt. And therefore, as the phenomena, as this, each and every step of the dependent origination became clearer to him, clearer and clearer and clearer, his doubt vanished. His doubt vanished by only seeing a rising of this what? Whole mass of suffering. Seeing whole mass of suffering. Then, when he discerns what has a cause, Okay? Then, as I said, I recite in Pali for you to hear the sound of Pali. And then when you take this paper with you, please try to read it several times. You will be able to memorize very easily with the pronunciation. Avidya paccaya sankara. You say after me. Avidya paccaya sankara. Sankara paccaya viññāṇam. Viññāṇa paccaya nāmarūpaṃ. Nāmarūpa paccaya salāyatanam. Salayatana paccaya passo. Passa paccaya vedana. Vedana paccaya tanha. Tanha paccaya upadānaṃ. Upadāna paccaya bhavo. Bhava paccaya jati. Jati paccaya jara maranaṃ soka parideva dukkha domana supāyāsā sambhavanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha khandassa samudayo hoti. Okay. Now you can see how easy to recite and remember, because there is a repetition. Avidya paccaya sankara, and then you start again with sankara paccaya viññāna. Then again start with viññāna paccaya nāmarūpa. Then start with nāmarūpa paccaya salayatana. Okay? So the last word of each sentence is repeated in the beginning of the next sentence. And therefore it is easy. But the difference is, first one is paccaya, other one ends with either or o. That is only different. For instance, avidya paccaya sankara, sankara paccaya viññāṇaṃ. Okay? Then next one is not viññāṇaṃ paccaya. Next one is viññāna paccaya nāmarūpaṃ. Like that you can see. First is because of, second is the result. Now, the stanza is not repetitive, but important to remember. I recite this, you repeat after me. Yada have pātu bhavanti dhamma ātāpino jāyato brahmanassa atasya kanka vapayanti sabbha yato pajanati sahetu dhammaṃ. Yada means when. Have indeed. Pātu bhavanti arise. Dhamma phenomena. Ātāpino ardent. Jāyato meditating. Brahmanassa for the Brahmin or the Buddha. Athasa, atha, asa, then his. Kanka, doubt. Sabbha means all. Vapayanti, disappear. Yato, then, pajanati, no, sahetu dhammang. Sahetu means cause, dhamma means phenomena, cause of phenomena. Now, this is the rough meaning of the first formula. First, what we said is examples of the first formula. What is the formula?
Oh, you must think something.
Yeah. This being, this is. From arising of this arises. Not that arises.
Why?
Not that arises. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because this is happening now, here, in us, and therefore we can assert that. It refers to us of this 5 aggregates with this body, feeling, and so forth. It happens here, in this body and mind. I am not talking about what happened to you. What it happens here in me is definitely happening to you over there. And therefore I must master of what is here. When I know my biology, my physics, my chemistry, my breath, my blood circulation, I know everybody's physics, chemistry, biology, blood circulation, everything, if I know it very well in me. So the Buddha's teaching is not taking others as examples, but taking us as example. Because this is very close to us. I am closer to me more than anybody else. So I must understand me better. And therefore this formula is such a deep, profound formula, and this is called Paticca Samuppada Niyaya. Paticca Samuppada formula. We will discuss all this in this very deep subject. Now, in the second watch of the night, from 10 to 2, roughly in modern terms, dependent origination in reverse order. This not being, this is not. From the cessation of this ceases. Here again it refers to this. This not being, this is not. Not this not being, that is not. Normally that is how we talk. But here is a parallel. This being, this here. This not being, this not being here. This is not. All with your eyes right in front of you, closest to you, and therefore when this is, then this is this not being. It is just like when my hand moves, this is the hand, this is the shadow. This is the hand, this is the shadow. So these are very close, like that. I mean, shadow is not a good example because this is next is also very powerful. Okay. Through the
Bhante, it's something like if I get rid of ignorance, that doesn't help anyone else, it only helps me, right? That's what you're trying to say. It doesn't affect anyone else.
Right. If you are ignorant, that is your problem.
Right.
And you have to deal with that. You cannot blame Karan. Oh, me. Right?
Right.
Okay. Very good example, very good understanding. We are on the same page. Okay. Through the entire cessation of this ignorance, volitional formations cease. Through the cessation of volitional formations, consciousness ceases. Through the cessation of consciousness, mentality and materiality cease. Through the cessation of mentality and materiality, sixfold base ceases. Through the cessation of sixfold base, contact ceases. Through the cessation of contact, feeling ceases. Through the cessation of feeling, craving ceases. Through the cessation of craving, clinging ceases. Through the cessation of clinging, becoming ceases. Through the cessation of becoming, birth ceases. Through the cessation of birth, aging, death cease, and sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief and despair. Thus there is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. Now in the first watch, he saw how the suffering arises. In the second watch, he saw how the suffering ceases. In the first watch, he saw entire mass of suffering arising. In the second watch, he saw entire mass of ceasing, not leaving anything behind. Entire suffering completely ceases. And the stanza following that is, as the phenomena grow clear to the Brahmin ardent absorbed, his doubts all vanish when he penetrates the end of conditions. So this is the second. Now we go to the Pali. Also we recite in Pali, or I repeat, I read, you repeat after me. Imasming sati idang na, imasming asati idang na hoti. Imasya nirodha idang nirujyati. Yadidang avijayatveva asesa viraga nirodha sankara nirodho. Viraga sankara nirodha vijnana nirodho. Vijnana nirodha nama rupa nirodho. Nama rupa nirodha salayatana nirodho. Salayatana nirodha phassa nirodho. Phassa nirodha vedana nirodho. Vedana nirodha tanha nirodho. Tanha nirodha upadana nirodho. Upadana nirodha bhava nirodho. Bhava nirodha jati nirodho. Jati nirodha jara maranam. Soka parideva dukkha domanasupayasa nirujjanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha kandassa nirodho hoti. The stanza, yada have patu bhavanti dhamma atapino jayato brahmanassa athassa kankha vapayanti sabba yato khayang pachayanang avedi. Okay. Now, in this he saw, when this is just like a domino effect. When one falls, other falls. Then next falls, next falls, next falls. So you have to give a push to the first one. Then everything falls, disappears. So, although I say this in brief, we discuss each of them separately in this class. Now, third one. In the third verse from 2 to 6, that night, sitting in the same position, now he combined both together. He repeated the first part, and then when he came to the end, then he repeated the second part, and then from the reverse order, the forward order and reverse order together. Now we see this, you read in English, I don't have to struggle to read English. I help you to read Pali, which you are not very, proficient. So, anulomancha, patilomancha. Anuloma means forward order. Loma means hair. You remember when you meditated on 32 parts of the body, number 2 is kesa loma. Remember loma. Loma means hair of the body. Normally hair is turned in one way. Therefore it is called anuloma, going with the hair. With the hair. That's a very good Pali word. Anuloma means, therefore it means in forward order. Patiloma means going against the hair, against the grain. So, imasming, I read, you repeat after me. Imasming asati idang nahoti. No. Because this is the same as the first one. He repeat in both orders. Imasming sati idang hoti. Imasa uppada idang uppajyati. Yadidang avidya sankara sankara pacya viññānaṁ viññāna pacya nama rūpaṁ nama rūpa pacya salayatanaṁ salayatana pacya passo passa pacchaya vedana vedana pacchaya tanha tanha pacchaya upadanam upadana pacchaya bhavo bhava pacchaya jati jati pacchaya jara maranam soka parideva dukkha domanasupayasa sambhavanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha dukkha khandassa samudayo hoti. Now he goes in the reverse order. Imasmin asati idang nahoti. Imasya nirodha idang nirujjati. Yadidang avidyayattveva asesa viraga nirodha sankhara nirodho. Sankhara nirodha viññāna nirodho. Viññāna nirodha nama rupa nirodho. Nama rupa nirodha salayatana nirodho. Salayatana nirodha passa nirodho. Passa nirodha vedana nirodho. Vedana nirodha tanna nirodho. Tanna nirodha upadana nirodho. Upadana nirodha bhava nirodho. Bhava nirodha jati nirodho. Jati nirodha jara maranam soka parideva dukkha domanasupayasa nirujjanti evametassa kevalassa dukkha khandassa nirodho hoti. Then the stanza yada have patu bhavanti dhamma atapino jayato brahmanassa vidupayang tithati marasenang suryova obhasayang antalikanti. Okay. Now, here, in English you can see, as phenomena grow clear to the Brahmin, ardent and absorbed, he stands rousing the troops of Mara. Rooting the troops of Mara. Like the sun that illuminates the sky. Now he is chasing away Mara. Like the sun chased away what? Darkness.
But
Sun.
I don't think we don't have that.
Eh?
I don't think that's in the notes, is it? No.
We will explain this. Now, stand rooting the troops of Mara. He uproot and chase away the troops of Mara. All the army of Mara, he chase away. Just like the sun that illumines the sky. As the sun rises, that light chase away darkness. Similarly, Buddha, as it becomes clear, he destroys his enemy, Maras. Now, Mara in a very realistic, comprehensive manner, Buddha list the Mara's army. Now we have various interpretation of Mara, but here we stick to this Maras in our discussion right now. Other things we will discuss some other times, but this Mara's army listed in this way. Who are they? Mara's army. I read in Pali. Kamate patamasena dutiya arati uchyati tanha tatiya kuppipasate chatutti tanha pauchyati panchami thina middanche chatti bhiru pauchyati sattami vichikiccate mano thambote attami labho silauko sakkaro Micca laddocha yo yaso yo chattanan samukkhangse parecha avajanati. Okay. Now, these are the enemies of what you call army of Mara. What are they? Sensual pleasures are your first army. Sensual pleasure is the first army. The second is called discontent. Third is hunger and thirst. The fourth is called craving. The fifth is dullness and drowsiness. The sixth is called cowardice. Cowardice. Doubt is your seventh. Your eighth is denigration and pride. Then ninth, gain praise and honor and wrongly obtain fame is the ninth. 10th is one exalts oneself and looks down at others. These are the 10 armies. And in this meditation on dependent origination, when he saw these 12 steps, there are 12 steps. When he saw these 12 steps, he saw one very definite thing in it. What is that? That is, each and every step is rising and falling. Rising and falling. Ignorance arises and ignorance vanishes. Craving arises, craving vanishes. Volitional formations arise, volitional formations vanish. Avidya, sankara, consciousness arises, consciousness vanish. Sixfold base arises, mentality and materiality arises, mentality and materiality vanishes. Sixfold base arises, they vanish. Then feeling arises, they vanish. Then craving arises, it vanishes. Clinging arises, that vanishes. Then grasping arises, that vanishes. Then birth arises, that vanishes. Growth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation arise and they vanish. So what did he see? Rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. On the dependent origination, first part is ascending order, arising, 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 arising. Second part is falling, 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 falling. Rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. When this arise, this arise. When this vanish, this vanish. Not only one single aspect of these 12 steps, it stays the same. Rising,
Bhante, are you saying the reverse order is the one that vanishes, right? No,
reverse order means vanishing side,
okay.
forward order is a rising side. In the forward order 12 arises, and then in the reverse order you see all the 12 falling. So in short, rising he saw falling. Rising, falling, rising, falling, rising, falling. What did he see? Impermanence.
But you could also say that it's like born and dying, right?
Yeah, born is rising, dying is different.
And out of those 12 steps, every step they have different periods. The length of the living part is not the same.
Only when one arises, the other arises. It is not the question of duration, but the question of what it does. When it arises, whatever arises, it falls. And that is why when Buddha gave the first sermon, Konnanya, one of the 5 disciples, listened to the discourse very attentively. After the long discourse, he uttered only one sentence. He said, Yang kenchi samudaya dhammang sabbantan nirodhammang. Whatever arises is subject to fall. That is true. And that is why he attained the first stage of enlightenment. Not only that, other lay people like Super Buddha listened to the Dhamma. As he was listening, he saw whatever arises, it passes away. So, then when he saw this, all this Mara's army, for instance, sensual pleasures, he saw sensual pleasure arises and sensual pleasure passes away. First army. You can see the first army is dissolving right under his nose. The desire is slowly fading away and disappearing. And he saw, okay, come on in, come, desire come. As it comes, it slowly fades. He did not have to do anything, but just watch what happens to desire. We all have to do that. You don't have to do anything, you just watch what happened to desire. Just watch. And then the second, they may have come one after the other. Then the second army comes. Discontent, meaning not satisfied with the practice, with that practice. That also does not stay. That comes and slowly fades away. Then hunger and thirst doesn't last all forever. It comes and fades away. And then craving. First is sensual pleasures. Sensual pleasure means pleasure to, pleasure that we enjoy through our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body and mind. This is called pleasure. And we enjoy that. That enjoyment of sensual pleasure also is not something permanent. It is changing. So when he saw these changes, he just has to watch it, pay attention to it. And he says it's fading away.
Do we have to do anything to rise and fall?
Do what you have to do is to be mindful and pay attention.
That's all. It's going to fall without anything, without any action, right?
Action means either desire or ignorance. That is why when we struggle, we disturb our mind and we cannot see things clearly. If we are confused, we cannot see things, and therefore stay mindful and pay attention. Pay mindful attention, clear comprehension. Sati sampajanya, these two words, sati sampajanya, mindfulness and clear comprehension. And these are the two things Buddha cultivated, Siddhartha Gautama. And as his mindfulness and clear comprehension became sharper and sharper and sharper, and all he saw was them coming and going, appearing and disappearing, appearing and disappearing. All, yeah.
Why is there the right effort step of abandoning arisen unwholesome states, which seems like an effort, versus this just watching, which seems like a non-effort?
Very good. I hope shall we finish this and you all ask the questions later?
Okay, sure.
Let me finish this. That is question number 1 during question period, okay? So he defeated all the 10 armies of Mara. Mara simply means that which state that destroys clarity, purity, wholesome, skillful state is called Mara. That which destroys all the wholesome things, all the skillful things, all the meaningful, beneficial things. That power which destroys all of them is called Mara. Mara means the one who kills. Mara, this is one mental state called Mara against the other mental state. Mara is the friend of unwholesome things. This is why all these 10 are called Mara's army. Mara is the one that destroys all wholesome things, skillful things, meaningful things, peace, happiness, comfort, solace, whatever wholesome, noble we have, Mara's army destroy them. And those forces that destroy good things are called Mara's army. If you simply remember this, then we have no any question about the definition or meaning of Mara. So look at this list. Is there anything wholesome? Sensual pleasure, discontent, hunger and thirst, craving and delusion, drowsiness and cowardice or doubt, denigration and pride, false gain, false praise, false honor, That's wrongly obtained. And then exalting oneself and disparaging others. Is there anything good, any of them? Nothing. All of them are negative. All of them are against wholesome things. And therefore, all wholesome things will be destroyed by this unwholesome mental state. Therefore, this all unwholesome mental state called Mara's army. Now, so if somebody asks you what is the dependent origination formula, what is the dependent origination formula?
This arises.
Is this being, this arises. This, what do you call?
Not being this.
No, from arise. This being, this arises. From arising of this arises. Two sentences. This being, this is. This being, this is. From arising of this arises. Then example. That is, then the second is, this not being, this is not. From the cessation of this ceases. That is, imas means sati and so forth. Or in Pali, imas means sati, idang hoti. Imas uppada, idang uppajjati. That is the ascending order. Descending order, reverse order is, imas means asati, idang nahoti. Imas niruddha, idang nirujjati. These four sentences are the dependent origination formula. I think it is better to remember both English and Pali. If anybody asks you what is the dependent origination formula, this is the formula. Because everything, other 12 steps are the examples. Now, and this has given in brief in Maha-nidana Sutta. Those who have come to Maha-nidana Sutta class long ago remembers we said it in Pali as well as in English. Perhaps none of you may remember any of these things now because it happened several years ago. Samudaya dhammanupassīvā kāyasmiṃ vērati, vaya dhammanupassīvā kāyasmiṃ vērati, samudaya vaya dhammanupassīvā kāyasmiṃ vērati. Paticca samuppada formula. That is, this alternative suggestion in Satipatthana Sutta or else, he dwells contemplating in the body, it is nature of arising, or he dwells contemplating in the body, its nature of vanishing, or he dwells contemplating in the body, its nature of both arising and vanishing. Exactly Paticca formula. Rising, he notices rising, he notices vanishing, and notices both rising and vanishing. Now, we talk about the doubt. His doubt disappeared. What are the doubts? I just say in English because Pali, if you get into Pali, it will be too long for us. We cannot finish the class today. Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? How was I in the past? Having been what? What did I become in the past? So there are 5 ways of doubting about oneself in the past. Here I means the self. Self. Regarding the present, or future. Shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? How shall I be in the future? Having been what shall I become in the future? Then, regarding the present, or else, he is inwardly perplexed about the present, thus, am I? You see, I have heard people say this, ask me these questions. During my interviews, people say, I don't know who am I. They say that. Am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being come from? Where will it go? Here, I, being, it, all refers to the same thing. What is that? Soul or self. Soul or self. This is the kind of doubt that people have. And these doubts, 16 types of doubts mentioned here, are listed in one discourse in Majjhima Nikaya. Can anybody remember that discourse? Number 2 in Majjhima Nikaya. Number 1 is Moola Pariyaya Sutta. Number 2, Sabbasava Sutta. All cankers. Go and read that discourse. Majjhima Nikaya, Sutta number 2. There Buddha has listed Ayoniso Manasikara, unmindful reflection. There Buddha said, when we reflect unmindfully, all unmindful thing will come and support unmindful reflection. When you reflect mindfully, all mindful thing comes and support the mindfulness. It is just like when you have a sweet grape and bitter gourd seed you plant in the same place, in the same bed. Bitter gourd grows here, sweet apple grows here. When the bitter gourd creep or vine grows up, you get bitter gourd. When grape seed grows up, you get sweet apple, even apple seed. You put the same fertilizer, water the same, sunlight is the same, soil is the same, but this draws all the bitter things. This draws all the sweet things. How come? Because this has the gene of bitterness. This has the gene of sweetness. Sweetness draws all the sweet, bitterness draws all the bitter. Similarly, whenever unwholesome thought, one unwholesome thought arises, one unwholesome thought, only one, all unwholesome things come and support it. Okay, go ahead, nourish it. One wholesome thought arises, all wholesome comes and support it. You see? Therefore, dependent origination. Everything happens like this, everything depending on other thing. if the gene of bitterness somehow using this what you call chemical drafting,
Gene editing.
gene
Gene editing or
gene editing or drafting, you can make the bitterness and convert bitterness to sweetness. I think some people, I don't know how true it is, they use the most unpleasant odor of skunk. Most unpleasant. They used it for perfume, making perfume. I heard a skunk is if the skunk is killed on the road over there, so many hundreds of yards away, we cannot stand here because he discharged so much bitter odor. That bitter odor somehow taken and used various chemical things and convert into perfume. People apply under the armpits and so on. Convert into sweet things, right? Similarly, if any bitter or unwholesome mental states convert into the wholesome mental state by destroying the armies of Mara. Unwholesome things are bitter, Mara's enemy. Wholesome things are against that, and then wholesome things destroy them and convert into wholesomeness. Now, anytime you pay attention to, when you meditate, anytime you pay attention to rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising, you are seeing dependent origination. Why? Whatever rises, subject to fall. Whatever rises, subject to fall. So we see the dependent origination right there. So, yang kinchi samudaya dhamman sabbanta nirodha dhamman. Whatever comes to existence, that goes out of existence. That is 100% true all the time. Whether the Buddhas come on into existence, or Jesus come into existence, or Muhammad comes to existence, or Abraham comes to existence, or Hare Krishna comes to existence, or Mahabrahma comes to existence, so all, whoever comes to existence, they cannot make the change of impermanence. Nobody can make impermanence permanent. They rise and fall, rise and fall. Now, I want to end this saying, Vipassana Buddha, that is, in this, what you call it, Buddhist cosmology, there are 7 Buddhas. Vipassana, Sikhi, Vesabu, Kakusanda, Konagama, Kassapa, Gautama. 7 Buddhas. Our Gautama Buddha, through his super normal mental state, was able to see what the Vipassana Buddha did. What the Vipassana Buddha did. And he reported it in Maha-nidana Sutta in Digha Nikaya. Digha Nikaya, Sutta number 14 is Maha-nidana Sutta. In that Sutta, Buddha reported that Vipassana Buddha, I wrote a note here, mindfully contemplated on dependent origination from decay and death and stopped at mentality and materiality, Nama Rupa. We read the Nama Rupa in this, our today's lesson. he contemplated, Vipassana Buddha was not like our Gautam Buddha. Gautam Buddha went through all kind of self-mortification and all these things. Vipassana Buddha Vipassana was a king. One day he said, he was going with his retinue, his army, and said, enough, I am tired of army, you go this way, I go this way. He went along as a king. Then he began to, he sat in a solitary place and began to think, gee, I'm getting old. I will die. What is the cause of it? So he started thinking from Jara Marana. And then came to Nama Rupa, mentality and materiality. Then he kept on thinking and thinking and thinking. This mentality and materiality doesn't go beyond that. It keep circling around itself, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Nama, Rupa, mentality and materiality. We have discussed them earlier sometimes. Probably you may not remember, but we will discuss them again. Then he said that this consciousness does not go beyond mentality and materiality. Then he said that he found the way to attain enlightenment. Now he found the way to attain enlightenment by contemplating on dependent origination. Our Buddha contemplated on dependent origination after attaining enlightenment. But Vipassana Buddha contemplated on dependent origination before attaining enlightenment and thought this might be the way to attain enlightenment. See the difference between Vipassana Buddha and our Buddha. Then later on he meditated rising and falling or dependent origination. After that he saw whatever rises falls. Then he meditated on the 5 aggregates, and this practice led him to freedom from suffering and attain total liberation. So what did he do to attain enlightenment? Seeing rising and falling on the 5 aggregates. Form, feeling, perception, thought and volitional formations are the 5 aggregates. All of them rise and fall. All of them rise and fall. And seeing this rising and falling of the 5 aggregate, Vipassana Bodhisattva attained enlightenment. It's a very important thing to remember. Therefore, what we have to do to attain enlightenment? What the Vipassana Buddha did.
Vipassana. It's Vipassana, right?
Huh?
Vipassana.
Vipassana. In Vipassana, what do you say? Passana means seeing. Vipassana means in a special way of seeing. Seeing in a special way of rising and falling. Rising and falling. Of our own aggregate, that is the special way. We normally don't see our own rising and falling. You have to have a very special attitude, insight, to see each and every one of us, our own rising and falling. As I said, because we are closest to ourselves, nobody else. So he saw the 5 aggregates rising and falling, rising and falling. Okay. Then Vipassana Buddha said, I have struggled, had to realize this. Enough with trying to explain it. this teaching is not easy to understand by those mired in greed and hate. Those caught up in greed can't see what's subtle, going against the stream, deep, hard to see, and very fine, for they are shrouded in a mass of darkness. So you can see in this, even Gautama Buddha did the same thing. Understanding of dependent origination is so clear. At the same time, he saw how unclear other people are. His mind is so pure and clean, others' minds are mired in defilements, sunk in deep mud. And therefore, it is not very easy for me to teach them the Dhamma as I realized. And it is said that he was rather reluctant to teach. No doubt, no wonder that he was reluctant, because the Dhamma is so deep and profound. This is the beginning of the second lesson and end of the second lesson. And you read the papers that you have. Please read it, if you are serious, read them very carefully and think again and again to see the meaning. Now we stop this and you ask your questions. Your first question is what?
The question I asked was, with respect to the practice of simply watching the arising and falling, which is seen to be communicated as a non-effort-based thing, except for the watching. Why is there how is that to be considered alongside the right effort step of the Noble Eightfold Path, the part that says the effort to abandon arisen unwholesome states? And one this sounds like an effort, and the other sounds like a non-participatory watching, just a simple watching.
Yeah. Very good question. I said noticing rising and falling, as you said, is not easy. Let me close this to make it easy for me to see you. Now, I said you need patience, mindfulness, clear comprehension. With these three things, you pay attention. You pay attention and you see rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling. While you are doing that, your mind is temporarily okay. Then you want to maintain that. You want to have effort to stay on the course. That means you prevent all Mara's army invading your mind. You prevent it. Because your intent to stay on the course, on the track. That's your attempt. That is your attempt. That's your effort. Good effort. Right effort. Then suddenly, because you are not enlightened, suddenly one battalion of the Mara will attack you. Then you use again your patience, mindfulness, clear comprehension to chase him away. Second effort. Then your mind is clear. Again you are on the track. And then you want to have more energy to maintain that. Arouse more wholesome mental states. That's your third effort. And then once you have that mental state, you would not budge. You would not become weak. With utmost perseverance, you maintain it, the fourth effort. So now we have, three of the most important factors of the Noble Eightfold Path you are practicing right there. What are they? You have mindfulness, right, with clear comprehension. You have effort, and you have understanding. Understanding, effort, mindfulness are called three cardinal factors of the Noble Eightfold Path. And other five factors naturally follow. Remaining five factors, right speech, right action, right livelihood, and so forth, right concentration, and these are the remaining five factors. These five factors naturally follow, because when you have mindfulness, you would not say something wrong. Right speech will be there. Then right action, you would not kill, steal and so forth because you are mindful. Then right livelihood, you don't get involved in wrong livelihood. Right understanding, because of your right understanding you undertook this particular practice. Right speech, right action, right livelihood, right intention, right concentration. All these five support right mindfulness, right effort, right understanding.
So then I think if I'm understanding rightly, that we're not only to watch the arising and passing, but also to make the effort to deflect Mara's army if it comes in. Now, it might not be something that can be done just by watching for the practitioner, depending upon their level of understanding.
Yes.
Okay.
You see, let me repeat. You all are witnesses. To win my case, I said, you have to start with right mindfulness, right effort, and right understanding. You start paying right attention to rising and falling with right understanding. Because you understand this is happening. You are not deluded, you are not in dream, you are not confused. You see rising and falling, and you understand this is the truth. This is the established Dhamma, is the root of Dhamma, this is the law of Dhamma. With this understanding, right understanding. Then you make, clearly you comprehend it, that's a clear comprehension. And then you are mindful of this. You are mindful of this rising and falling. Anytime you slip your mindfulness, you lose it. So you are mindful. Then you have to have right effort not to let the Mara's army invade your mind.
Okay.
You have right effort. And then anytime you lose your effort, Mara's army will come. At least one of them. Then you apply more effort with right mindfulness and right understanding. Okay?
Yes.
And then, second time when it goes away, you maintain your right mindfulness, right effort, right mindfulness effort, and understanding. Mindfulness, effort, understanding. With these three things you pay attention to rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling, rising and falling.
Okay.
Now, you cannot pay attention to rising and falling without understanding. You cannot pay attention to rising and falling without mindfulness. You cannot pay attention to rising and falling without effort.
Okay.
You see? These three things you must keep in mind when you pay attention to rising and falling, rising and falling.
Okay.
Okay?
So if Mara's army of sensual lust arises, we can apply some of the efforts such as substitute, or something like ill will, we can substitute with metta. This effort helps us maintain the three.
Using metta and all these things are peripheral. As far as insight is concerned, you must keep your mind on the track of insight. If you want to practice jhana and so forth, metta practice is very important to gain concentration. That is another way. But when you develop your mindfulness, as you grow in your practice, metta will naturally join you. Because you cannot have any anger, hatred when you are mindful. You see? And therefore, in the absence of anger, hatred and so forth, metta works.
Okay. So then the effort simply is to recognize that it is there and to place the attention back on the rising and falling.
Right.
That's the right effort. None
Right.
of these other... okay. Thank you.
Yeah. You are.
I don't know if I can explain it the way I understood, but I think for me, in order for me to concentrate well, from what I learned from Dharma talk, from YouTube, first of all, I have to have Sila. Okay? 5 precepts. I do that every day. That help, because when you have Sila, you do the right thing and then right speech. And then after that, then you can go to a samadhi, because that supports samadhi. If you don't have Sila, you still try to lie to people, your mental is going crazy because you form the question to do manipulating people, you cannot have samadhi. That's how I do the samadhi. So I stay with Sila, then I do the samadhi. Then samadhi is hard, try to sit and all those because we are lay people, we do a lot of stuff. But it's trying stage. When you get samadhi, then you go into another deeper, which is what...
Wisdom.
Yeah,
Panya.
wisdom, panya.
Panya.
Then try to use panya while you are sitting, doing meditation. All of those, like a lot of things. It's not only one thing, 2 things. It's like a lot of angles, whole shebang to support you to be concentration. But when you concentrate it, you'll be able to quiet your mind. Then when you can see arising and passing, arising and passing. Am I saying right?
Yeah, I see. You are not wrong.
Okay.
Sila, Samadhi, Panya is the way even the Noble Eightfold Path is divided. I was talking about Panya section. Normally, if you wait until your Sila is perfect to practice concentration, you can never practice meditation.
No, I do it all this together.
Now, as you practice mindfulness with all your difficulties, all your shortcomings, all your weaknesses, you start the practice. Then you see the place of Sila in your practice. That means Suppose you try to practice mindfulness. Then you remember something that you have done wrong. Stealing, telling lies or something. Then you cannot practice meditation. So, then you determine, I will never do it again. Then you go back to your Sila in your practice. So as your understanding, insight increases, your Sila increases. Not the other way around. Sila increases as your understanding increases. Then with that Sila, your practice will become easier. If you wait until your morality is complete, you will never meditate. It is just like somebody going to a seashore and wait for the sea to become calm for him to have a swim. He will never swim because the sea never becomes calm. Similarly, our life is full of weaknesses. We are not perfect. We have a lot of weaknesses. With all these weaknesses, we make a commitment, determination, effort, right effort to start. When you start, then you will see where you go, how you practice, how successful you are. Every time you lose your concentration because something we have done wrong. Remorse arises, regret arises, you cannot concentrate. So you have to make a determination, you have to have understanding, why I am not able to concentrate is because of such and such. That is your understanding, right understanding. And then you become more and more mindful not to get involved in that kind of wrong things. That's your right mindfulness. And then you make effort. You see, I tell you, I request you to read the sutta, Maha-nidana Sutta, Maha-nidana Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. There Buddha has explained these things. It is there Buddha said that these three factors, right mindfulness, right effort and right understanding are pivots go around all other five. All other five is Sila, and that is right speech, right action, right livelihood, and Samadhi, right effort, right concentration. Out of right Samadhi section, right effort is taken. Right effort is taken into Panya category. And therefore, right effort, right mindfulness, and right understanding. Right mindfulness, right understanding are in the category of Panya. So he took one of the right concentration, that is right effort, and put in the right wisdom category, and said these three are cardinal factors. So I said you are not completely wrong, but these three things work together. Sila, Samadhi, Panya. It's easy to break that way. But nobody can practice Sila first and wait until Sila is complete. If you wait for your Sila to be complete, you will die before having any time to meditate. Because we break precepts. Why we break precepts? Because we don't understand. Because we don't have mindfulness. Because we don't have right effort. That is why we break precepts. So we do not break precept if we have right understanding, right mindfulness and right effort. So the order has to be changed. But eventually these three things must be complete for you to attain liberation. Right?
So the panya will arise after you practice this for a while.
Panya arises as you practice. Panya arises.
Okay.
Panya arises because you see from your own life why I cannot concentrate. It is simple question, nobody can tell you. Only when you put yourself into practice, you will see why I cannot gain concentration. Because I have done such and such a wrong thing in my life. You don't have to tell anybody. Only you and your own conscience know what you have done in your life. And therefore, that is a very important awakening for you to practice morality. It is an awakening moment. That moment arises only from you start practice, when you start practice. And therefore, Buddha said, in even Maha-nidana Sutta, while you are practicing meditation, there are so many things there. In the Chitta-anupassana, in the Dhamma-anupassana, all these four anupassanas in four foundations of mindfulness. The main theme is mindfulness. Main theme is mindfulness. When you practice mindfulness, you see, you will see wherever you go wrong, you will see in your mindfulness. In order to see where you go wrong, you also have to have a clear comprehension, sati sampajanya. These two must go together. Sati, mindfulness, and clear comprehension, clear understanding must go together. And then you see, when you make a mistake, you see it and immediately you correct it. So, your question is very important, and Sila, Samadhi, Panya definitely are important. All this will complete when you start practicing mindfulness. Start practicing mindfulness. Even if you practice concentration, whichever you like to start you start with that, and then you will see how and where Sila fits in.
Sometimes I feel like I'm not really progressing at all. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. Don't feel bad about not having made a big progress. But you have to make a commitment. Yes, I have not made much progress because I have not been consistent, because I have not been practicing. If you are not practicing, how can you make any progress? Right? In order to see the progress, you start practicing, and as you practice, you will see where your loopholes, and then you correct it and go forward. Always we fall and stand and move forward. Again fall, stand and move forward. That is with regard to anything in life, job, living and so forth. Meditation particularly is very important for us to remember never to be discouraged. Never to be discouraged. Because it is a very special venture. very special. Not something that you can see everywhere. Therefore, we are liable to make mistakes, and then we stand up and correct it and move forward. And then you will see your own progress. Okay?
Bhante, can you please explain when you said there are unskillful actions that are the list of 10 unskillful actions or unwholesome actions. That also includes hunger and thirst, or the third. So I understand those are the sufferings, but how do we think that from unskillful actions?
Hunger and thirst is not considered to be unskillful action, but that is an obstacle to our mental development. That is why they are put under the category of Mara. And that is why Buddha gave up hunger and thirst, because he was practicing his self-mortification period. He practiced hunger and thirst, but he found out it is counterproductive, so he gave up. And they are obstacles, obstructions. And therefore we have to eat and drink. Moderately eat and drink in order to overcome that. Meditation alone does not fill our stomach or quench our thirst. So we have to be mindful of what amount of food and drinks we must consume in order to maintain our health.
I'm having a hard time understanding Vijnana, Pataya, Nama, Rupam. That's the one piece that I always struggle. Vijnana, that's rebirth consciousness, right? And Nama Rupa is name and form. I'm having trouble making the link between Nama Rupa and Vijnana.
Monica, this is a big subject by itself. Vijnana, Chakku Vijnana, Sota Vijnana, Gana Vijnana, like that, there are 6 kinds of Vijnanas. You all know that. And Nama cannot exist without consciousness. Nama means, what are the Nama? What belongs to the Nama category? Yes. Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Phassa, Manasikara. These 5 together called Nama. Vedana cannot arise without consciousness. Sanya cannot arise without consciousness. Phassa cannot arise without consciousness. Chetana, thought, cannot arise without consciousness. Manasikara cannot arise without consciousness. So, consciousness must be there. Materiality, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. We cannot identify the qualities of Patavi. Patavi means hardness and softness. Tejo means coolness and heat. Cold, heat, this fluctuation of the temperature. And Apo is flowing and tightening, 2 factors. It is liquid as well as binding to that. Vayu is oscillation, movement. Now, Hardness we cannot recognize without consciousness. Softness we cannot recognize without consciousness. The consciousness is called vijnana, right? Why it is called vijnana? Vijanati ati vijnana. What vijanati? Sukha, dukkha, upekha, cold, heat, and so forth. All sort of things is recognized. Therefore it is called vijnana. Now, the qualities of earth element is recognized by consciousness. Qualities of water element, fire element, air element are recognized by consciousness. Therefore, consciousness involved in both this camp and that camp. If you put these two camps, both camps are camps have consciousness. And therefore, mentality and materiality are the two sides, and consciousness swing between them, this side and that side. Without consciousness, none of this can function. In living being, in material things there is no consciousness, therefore we don't talk about this. In living beings, especially as human beings, without consciousness, these two groups don't work. And therefore Vipassana Buddha said, Pachyudavatati imang vijnanam nama rupamma naparangattayati. Pachyudavati means returns. When it goes to the form, it returns to the when it goes to the materiality, it returns to the mentality. When it is in mentality, it goes to the materiality. And the combination of mentality and materiality is the field of consciousness. Without these two, consciousness cannot exist itself. And beyond this, consciousness cannot go. For instance, if you think of anything in your life, it can be sight, sound, smell, taste, touch and thought. Any of these things you can think because of your, when you see, you remember the form and you feel the form and you have, along with the form there is the other thoughts. Whenever there is a thought, that belongs to the mentality part. When you remember the form, that belongs to the materiality part. And so consciousness, wherever the consciousness goes, is lodged into materiality and mentality. It can never exist by itself. Okay? All right. I think that is enough for today's class. It is all, yeah?
With respect to the 12 steps in Paticca are these occurring sequentially? Or are they concurrent?
Are they all?
Sequentially occurring.
Sequentially.
Ignorance first, volitional formations second. Or is it ignorance, because ignorance, volitional formations? Because volitional formations, consciousness. Are they simultaneous? Maybe one comes, the other is simultaneously there. Or are they like this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like this?
You mean they are sequential?
Yes. Do they occur sequentially?
You mean in time? Sequentially in time?
Yeah. Are they linear?
No.
Or are they simultaneous?
They are sequential.
Okay.
Sequential, at the same time, they are simultaneous. That is why it is said, when this is. They are simultaneous. But next step is sequential.
Okay, because, my question was, if the first two are simultaneous, then the second one having come in at the same time as the first one
No.
should be simultaneous with the third, and then all of them seem...
No, we take pair by pair.
Okay, pair.
Yeah.
Okay, so also, how is it that the Buddha was able to observe volitional formations if they arise prior to consciousness? Because I'm asking because I feel consciousness is necessary in order to observe. So these two are ignorance and volitional formations. They are arising before I have an assumption. The assumption is consciousness is necessary to make an observation. So I have a confusion, and my question is, how did these two come before consciousness in this chain of causality?
But it's in abstract terms. It's not like, ignorance is... You have to think in abstract terms.
It's in the form of 3 lifetimes.
Well, yeah, you can...
No.
Yeah.
Not 3 lifetime, it happens in this life. Now, as I said, dependent origination is so deep, so difficult to understand. Surely Buddha had consciousness to understand ignorance, volition, formations and so forth, using his awareness of the whole phenomena, how all these things happen. Not that he was without consciousness to think. He had consciousness, definitely. With this, his consciousness is not marred with all kind of defilements. His consciousness is pure consciousness, free from defilements. So he was able to see the pattern in this way. And this happens to him as well as to everybody else. But difference between his awareness and us is that he is looking at the whole thing from a pure, clean mental state without any defilements. Before he attained that state, he also was in that defiled category. But the consciousness, his consciousness is pure consciousness, clean consciousness without sankhara. It is called visankhara gatan chittam. Visankhara. Also sometimes it's called anidassana vijnana, appatitvita vijnana. So with that state of mind, he was able to see the whole series with his pure consciousness.
Bhante, can we think of it this way? Because of consciousness, mentality and materiality, and it circles around itself because of mentality and materiality, consciousness, and then the series goes down. So the whole thing happening is the volitional formation, and not knowing what's going on is the ignorance. Can you think like that way?
Surely, volitional formations start because of ignorance. Ignorance is, say for instance, you move your hand. When you move your hand, I'm going by my own example, you don't know what happened before you moved hand. You don't know what will happen before you move hand. You just move hand. Knowing what happened in the past, not knowing what happened in the past, not knowing what will happen in the future is ignorance. We have to understand that. So, anytime volitional formations arises, volitional formations is activities. Prior to that, there are other activities caused by ignorance. And ignorance, it is just like moving in the dark. When you move in the dark, you bump into something. Then you begin to think. When you bump into something, you think, and those are volitional formations. And moving in the dark is ignorance. So, we are groping in the dark, all of us. We don't know what we were, as we said in the 16 types of doubts. We don't know anything about our past. We don't know anything about our future. But we do something here. In our life, there is nothing that can show us everything in crystal clear. Nothing. We follow certain patterns, certain formula, certain principles, and we work. Entire life is like that. And therefore, not knowing anything is ignorance. Knowing everything is wisdom. If we understand this way, it is in a simple way, I can give you the whole list of ignorance, examples of ignorance, maybe in the next lesson. What do we mean by ignorance? What is ignorance? I give you the list. Today I am tired, now it is 5 o'clock. I think this may be enough for today.